All right. The countdown just happened. 3, 2, 1. You saw that on your end, right, Danielle?
I did.
Okay. So
Now we're on air.
I believe so. This is our first test
Okay.
doing two people on one of these live streams. I fumbled my way through one last Wednesday as well. But I'm just going to refresh some pages here and see if this is actually live.
This is a groovy setup we have here. I feel like I'm really like on air in a studio.
I do like it.
Yeah. No one else sees it, but I see it.
I've had a few people comment back to me that Restream is their platform of choice. So I think we chose the right one. Okay. I see us. I see us on LinkedIn.
Hello, us.
Hi, LinkedIn. Hello, everyone. I'm not sure if YouTube's working, but let me click into this. Oh, yeah. It is definitely working as well. All right. We have technical takeoff here. We are officially on our first live together, Danielle. It's good to see you again. We talked yesterday, of course. But yeah, wanted to come on here and have a chat and discuss what this topic is, which is why did I bring a mindset mentor into the Elevated CEO? And in case you don't know, you can probably see on the screen, Danielle is your mindset mentor. She is also my mindset mentor. And I'll maybe give a little context here first, and then we'll get into the Elevated CEO and kind of, you know, your role as a co-facilitator in supporting these high-level, high-achieving entrepreneur founders that are looking for that different way of operating in their business. They want all the success, but they also want it in other areas other than just their business. They want it in their life as well. So how's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. So I'll spare the big long introduction here, but I'll give you the Coles Notes version of this if we can speak as Canadians, because I know that Coles Notes makes no sense to Americans, but it is the short version. So about, I want to say 7 years ago, I was very much in the online world selling courses. I was dipping my toe a little bit into doing more coaching and mentoring. And at that time, I had created a new brand called Expert Selling. And it was really geared towards helping coaches, consultants, speakers, solopreneurs, really, that were wanting to market their business and land new clients. It was supporting them with LinkedIn lead generation, but even beyond that too, into sales and other forms of marketing. And I saw really quickly that I had a lot of information in those programs. I'm really good at stuffing information into programs. But I started to see people get not even overwhelmed, just they would get excited about certain aspects of it, but then they would hit a wall. And I was starting to get frustrated myself trying to figure out, how do I support these people to get over the hump that seems so simple and obvious, but actually taking action and moving in an aligned direction consistently was a common theme. And there was 15 people that joined this high ticket program that I had back in 2018. And they were almost all running into the same thing. So I actually had somebody else that was doing a lot of work with these people at the time around, how they were believing what they believed to be true in their business and how it related to their, how they show up on a daily basis. And that person ended up leaving. And then, long story short, our family moved to Kelowna, BC, Canada. And I started following this person, this Danielle person, on Facebook. And I saw that she was just throwing herself out there, recording live streams on Facebook. I think he did like 100 days in a row or something like that. And there were a couple that caught my eye, not because they were polished and perfect, but they were just like, damn, she's showing up. And I was impressed by it. So we ended up meeting for a coffee. And I said, would you come in and do some work with the people that I'm working with? And at the time, Danielle said, yeah, let's do this. So, about 3 or 4, well, at least 3 years, I would say, of that program, Danielle was involved as your mindset mentor. And I can think back to the people that were in that program, and some of them I'm still working with today. They have lots of great things to say about Danielle and how she was able to help them just shift the way that they were seeing their role as the entrepreneur and how they were showing up on a daily basis. And that's kind of the surface level aspect of it. But, 7 years later, that program no longer exists. I sold that business, exited it, and then hit a point in 2021 where I was like, I think I need to step away from this world for a little bit. And Danielle and I were still friends. And about a year later, she started working directly with my wife. And then we started working together again. She was supporting me as my mindset mentor, and even beyond that too, beyond just the mindset conversation. But a couple of years later, here we are, and maybe that'll roll us into the elevated CEO conversation. But maybe you want to share some of your experience coming up to this point, even too, Danielle, of where you were at in 2018, and why is this your jam? Why is this your thing?
What a great introduction. We've come so far. I love
Yeah,
that.
we just flow now, right?
Yeah. And I'm like part of the family, and so I'm
That's
auntie.
true, right? She does come over for birthdays as well.
Yeah.
And take our kids once in a while.
Yeah. A little bit about my story. Why is this my jam? 2018, when you met me, I was a fish out of water. I left the corporate world. I didn't leave the corporate world. The corporate world asked me to leave, and I was so grateful. And I decided to learn how to grow an online business. And mindset for me personally was something that I was really passionate about. And after trying a few things online, I realized that they weren't really impactful. And I wanted to do something that was really in personal development, which of course landed me in mindset, and how I ended up with Your Mindset Mentor as my brand. And I think, Trevor, I found you because you were running a LinkedIn webinar prior to Expert Selling. That's how we first got connected. Just like any beginner entrepreneur, you're consuming anything and everything. And I decided to start showing up online, not because of Trevor's program, but because from a mindset perspective, I knew that was one of the fastest ways to challenge this fear that I was experiencing. And that's really how Trevor saw the mindset mentor in me on display at that time. But oh man, I was so afraid. I was just like, I'm so grateful for that version of me, but it was also like such an uncomfortable time in my life. And looking back, it really is why I am still here today with the brand Your Mindset Mentor. So going back to 2018, I was just so fearful, but I was so certain that this is what I was supposed to do. And I was just going to keep going in that direction. And actually, one of the things that I really put my belief system behind was finding somebody who would bring me in as their mindset mentor. I know the power of our beliefs. I understand that everything is energy. And I really started to believe like someone is going to invite me into their program to be a mindset mentor. And Trevor showed up. And that's how this all started in terms of this relationship. Fast forward now to 2026, I'm in a completely different spot. I've taken a couple years away from being the brand Your Mindset Mentor. I had a personal evolution that really, I believe, came out of entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship is the ultimate personal development journey. And through me choosing to become who I became, I had personal life show up, and I took some time to do that, which is, I think, a lot of like what you said in 2021, a lot of people don't offer themselves that. And I know as someone who was an earlier entrepreneur who honored that, that was such an important thing. And I still had some mindset clients, as you said. I work with your wife and you, and had a few other long-term clients that I still work with. And so I was still honoring that part of wanting to be the mindset mentor. But I definitely took a step back. And a year ago, Trevor and I decided to partner back together. And we didn't start with the elevated CEO, but we were like, let's do this. And I committed to him that I would bring back this brand that I had otherwise said was no longer. And it has been just over a year. And now here we are on this live stream where you're talking about bringing in a mindset mentor into a program again, and what our new co-creation is. So it's just so crazy, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking about this the other day. I reflected it to you, how quickly time goes by. And as a parent, you really get to see that on display, because you watch your kids practically change daily. But even as it relates to business, we underestimate, what is that phrase, right? We underestimate what we can do in a decade and overestimate what we can do in a year. Or is it the opposite way? Either way, it's time goes fast.
Yeah.
And this past year did as well. But I'm not going to lie. Like I'll just say, the elevated CEO and the evolution of this, I felt like I was walking through mud the better part of 2025. There was moments where Danielle was just supporting me to keep moving. But then not only to keep moving, but also to recognize the moments where, like, dude, you got to stop for a little bit here because you're just kind of in a repetitive motion because you're wired to do this. You've been doing this for so long that this is where the beliefs are what's holding me back. It's not even the actions, you know? And I'm grateful for all of it, the entire experience that brought me up to here. But, to kind of fast forward things, there was a conversation that you and I both had with somebody back in August where we had ran 3 iterations of a 90-day program. Well, it actually started as like a 6-week program and then it turned into a 90-day program. And we were set to launch that again, I say that in quotes even too, because this was part of the mindset is like, we got to launch and there's got to be this like deadline. And Danielle really kind of disrupted where I was at, not in a comfortable way either. I'll say I've had a lot of resistance over the years. Even as I brought Danielle in as the mindset mentor in 2018, I was like, yeah, these people need that. I'm good though. Little did I know. Little did I know. I'm big enough to admit that now. But back in September, Danielle said, come over to my house on Monday or Tuesday or whenever it was, and we're going to do something. I was like, okay, sounds good. And the message was basically, all right, we're going to stop now, but we're not stopping for the sake of stopping to do nothing. It's time to regroup here. It's time to reset. And that meant going back to the basics, right? Like having conversations about like, why are we doing this? And who are we truly trying to serve? And is the message that's being put out and the offers that are being put out aligned with exactly what we're saying? Because if it's a little bit off, then it's not going to resonate with the people that we truly are meant to serve with our experience and just where our desires are right now. And, 3.5 months at the end of the year there was kind of spent just retooling and refocusing and re-strategizing and replanning and rebuilding. And coming into the new year here, it's really just, for me, it's been to kind of find my voice again too. And I say all that out loud because I couldn't have done this by myself. I had Danielle supporting me along the way. So I know the power of this. I'm not just bringing somebody in to support in these programs that I have. I'm a client as well, right? and I know what the power of it is. But, Danielle, maybe let's just speak to, there was one kind of bullet point that we discussed yesterday, which is, what do you think most entrepreneur founders, people that have built something that from the outside looking in looks successful, what are they avoiding when things are starting to feel off? It's just that intuitive feeling. What comes to mind?
Yeah, he says we talked about this yesterday and we did, but I really am trying to be in the present moment. And I didn't really, in this moment right now, what's really coming forward for me. Can you repeat the question, Trevor?
Yeah, just as it relates to the people that we are meant to serve in these programs going forward, what do you think are the things that they're avoiding when things are feeling off? And when I say off, I mean, like using me as an example, I'm the case study number one of like aspiring to be this elevated CEO. I don't even claim to be the person that everybody needs to be like. I'm on the journey just like everybody else. And I have all kinds of check boxes that say, you've done the thing. You've built the business, you've sold the business, you've built the family, you've traveled the world, you've done all these things. And yet there was things along the way, even for me, where it's like, man, this doesn't feel fulfilling anymore. It doesn't feel like I'm growing in the way that I want to. And maybe to plant the seed, one of those pieces is comparison, right? Looking at others and going like, oh man, my life should look like that. Or trying to stay up with all the technology that's popping out everywhere and telling us to fire everybody and build everything with AI agents and a lot of the busy work, right? The doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the underlying conversation to this is the slowdown, because in the slowdown is not just the slowdown. It's the slowdown to hear that thought process that's telling you that thing you're doing is expired, or that thing, the direction you're going isn't working, or to slow down long enough to actually sit in the emotion and to learn how to sit in emotion, to learn how to sit in discomfort. And it's so common, I think, for everybody of like, I don't have time to do that. It's like, you saying you don't have time to do that is you saying I don't have time to sit with myself who's trying to communicate to me either do something a better way or look this way or just take a fiver and breathe. You know what I mean? Like we don't have time for anything, but yet you want a completely different existence or life. It's like something at one point has to give. And I think the thing that really people are avoiding is that. And the bigger thing is because they're afraid they're going to lose whatever momentum or whatever it is. And it's the largest distortion for people because it actually gives you momentum when you slow down because you have the ability to get rid of dead weight, which is in my world limiting beliefs or thought patterns or subconscious feedback loops. Like if you actually take a moment to stop, you can grab a new track, and that's where your actual momentum, that's where your actual alignment is found. And everyone's avoiding that for all of these perceived fears that aren't even real when you sit there. Like look at yourself, for instance. How many times have I slowed you down with great resistance for then you to come out on the other side and be like, oh, this thought, like I just had this epiphany. It's like, it was there the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of the people that were best meant to serve too are very much, they've gone through similar journeys as I have too, where, you know, I'm really good at solving things. And, I would even go as far to say as making decisions, but I actually hesitate on that too, because the more I started to slow down, I realized how bad I was actually at making decisions and I'm not saying terrible, like where I'd like dwell on something for 6 months, but even if I dwelled on something for 6 days that could have been decided in 6 hours and then moving forward, like that was the edge. It's subtle. It's not even a big thing. But the one other thing I wanted to mention on this too is that a lot of what we're talking about here is really simple, but it evolves. It's not something that you just sit down one day and you solve. You become this elevated CEO that's got it all figured out, and they figure out the balance in life, and the revenues go through the roof, and their connection and their relationships amazing, and they're present with their kids. Like it goes through waves. There's good days, there's challenging days. Usually the challenging days are the growth days, but they're the ones that we're most resistant to. And I take a lot of pride in being good at solving problems, but approaching it from a different angle that is not what especially the online world is telling us, it's a very uncomfortable thing. And I think that was one of the things that you and I have emphasized in our discussions about how do we want these experiences to be, because we don't even refer to them as programs. What we're doing with people, they're experiences, and we want them to be uncomfortable conversations that they're not having, but not in a way that is pushing you in the wrong direction. You're the one that's making the decisions, and that responsibility becomes exciting and a little bit scary at the same time, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. This is whenever somebody asks us, like, what do you guys actually do in this program? It's like we meet people where they are and we help them elevate to the next level. To one person, that means one thing, and to another person, that means something else. And does that fit the criteria of how marketing tells you to promote something? Nope. But that's okay, because people are tired of that. We truly believe it because we've experienced it. We're in it ourselves too. These false beliefs that you're just going to push a button and everything's going to be beautiful and perfect and seamless and never go wrong. It's just not real. But that's also why we choose to be founders and entrepreneurs, right? And the people that we work with, they get excited by that. That's the world that they want to live in. So, but there's not a lot of places you can go to have real conversations where people will hold you to what you say and provide support. And this is one of Danielle's gifts, is being able to hear what's actually being said inside of what the desire is. And, like I'll give one example just, and maybe you want to riff on this, Danielle, but like we talked about finances at the start of the year, not about revenue and making sales and that type of thing, but actually relationship to money and managing of money and, ownership of the finances in our family and relationship with debt and all of those kind of things. And they're things that are very easy for me to go, yeah, I got it. But I didn't have it. I didn't have it. And that was one of the things that you supported me on. And it had to evolve over time, didn't it? It wasn't like you just gave me a spreadsheet and said, here, go track some stuff and you're good. There was a lot of resistance along the way, wasn't there?
There was a lot. And I think something you said in there is really important to highlight, which is the relationship to it. Everything that anyone is ever doing is a relationship. But the version of you that's experiencing that relationship is whatever identity you're in for that subject. So, for instance, finances. Your relationship to finances wasn't optimized. And so we made a decision to prioritize that relationship to your finances, but it wasn't just through a spreadsheet. It was to who is Trevor who has a relationship to finances? How does he behave? How does he track his finances? How does he think about spending his money? How does he think about investments? Like, what is the identity of that relationship that you're building? And I think that's a big part. And one of the reasons why I love to work with the clients that we help, and specifically in my world of mindset, is it's all about the relationship to the experience that you're in. You know, the relationship you have to the conversation of I don't have time, the relationship that you have to your spouse, your partner, your kids, the relationship you have to your business, the relationship you have to your employees. Like, they're all not one relationship. And in each of those relationships is a different identity of the human who's experiencing that thing. And that's something that I love to help our clients with, because as you're saying, like, we didn't just change your relationship to money. We retracked it, we repatterned it, we decided what it was at this new elevated version of yourself. And that's actually what allowed you to create the difference in that relationship.
Yeah, and that's just one of the kind of main pillar topics that seem to come up over and over again. You know, time is another one, of course. Focus related to time. You know, where is your focus going? When I got honest with myself about, you know, where my time was actually going, there was a few things in there where I was like, damn, man, I can't keep going like this. You know, whatever it was either just scrolling the feed and looking for ideas and justifying that, like, well, trying to stay up on the trends. It's like, no, I'm actually muting my own voice and my own intuition to speak honestly and truthfully. And I'll just say, with regards to that, maybe we'll kind of end it here, just so we're not too long. But you know, as I've started to do that at the start of this year, even too, I think people will see in my feed that there's still some content that doesn't feel truly authentic. Uh, but I'm moving through it, right? This is one of the things, is like you got to have some movement in order to create change too. You can't just like flip the switch and it happens. Um, but it is pretty profound when you get those aha moments, and they only show up when you show up and do the work. And that's one of the things that I think Danielle is really great at. In fact, the best person that I've experienced in my life. And that's why I have her co-facilitating with me in these programs that we have too, these experiences, I should say, not programs, because we need that. Us high performing, high achieving entrepreneurs, we don't need the kick in the ass, but we need the wake up call or the reminder every once in a while that this was the thing you said you wanted, and you said this in your reflection, but your actions are reflecting this. What's up with that? And then it's not a judgment piece. It's more like, hey, this is what you said, but this is what you did. So where's the misdirection here? And I think that's the last thing I'll mention too, is that we have a wait list for the 90-day CEO reset. And one of the reasons why we did a wait list is because we want to be able to communicate with those people as well in a way that would allow you to experience what it's like to be in our world too. So you don't have to just make this decision of like, I want to work with these people. If you do, then great. We'll have that conversation. We'll see if it's a fit. But otherwise, get on the wait list, because you'll get to see what that actually looks like. And we're going to continue to develop different pieces to that we can deliver to people through through email experiences and video and audio drops and that type of thing. But I think that's my invitation, my call to action at the end of this one is hop on the wait list, and you'll start to see that the conversations that we're going to have are different than anything you're having in your life right now. I can guarantee that, because I've experienced a lot of things. I've invested in a lot of things. I know this is different. And I'll leave it at that. Anything else you want to add there, Danielle, before we wrap today?
No, I think that's great. As you mentioned, I would definitely encourage anyone and everybody to get on the wait list. just so that you can experience another level, because we want to give you another level just in that wait list. And so join us in there, because we are going to be having conversations that you're not experiencing anywhere else. And it might just be the thing that you're like, oh, this is actually what I was seeking and what I was looking for in the conversation that I am being guided towards. So definitely would invite you to join us there. And if not, join us along in our feeds, as both of us have recently reactivated our brand and ourselves and our identities, and we've got lots of really good stuff coming up.
Yeah, there's certainly no lack of information or strategies or tactics or AI agents to take over everything for you nowadays. We have an abundance of that. So let's have a different conversation. All that stuff is amazing. And when you layer in all of this and you have somebody like Danielle there to support you as well, I can tell you from personal experience, it makes all the difference. And it's not something that I can easily even explain. We're going to do our best here over the coming weeks to talk about specific scenarios that I'm sure you'll be able to relate to, but come into that wait list and you'll get to experience it yourself. So with that, let's end the stream and say success. I'll see you next week.
Yes.
We'll do this every Wednesday at 11:30 Pacific time, unless we announce otherwise. So thanks for doing this, Danielle.